Hi everyone, it's Jen from Tarot Spirit here with your weekly reading. I'm going to use my Wildwood Tarot deck that I'm obsessed with at the moment. So let's put up a few cards and see what we have in store this week. So let's see, the first card. Oh, we have the Seer. I love this card. So this is the High Priestess in sort of a more standard tarot deck. And she is all about intuition and tapping into your intuition. And one one thing that always comes up with this card for me that I've just accepted as part of the card, even though it may seem a little on the negative side, is this card almost always comes up when someone is keeping a secret or hiding something from you, or you're hiding something from yourself, which kind of goes into the idea of your intuition, your subconscious. So you could be in denial about something, um, or someone in your life could actually be keeping something from you. Um, so I really like this card. It's so interesting. It's like she's looking into this pool of water, yet she has her eyes closed. So she's really turning within, perhaps looking at a reflection. If her eyes were open, there would be a reflection in the water. And just really trying to see within yourself. And I would really pay attention to your dreams, your daydreams. I think our daydreams are really a wealth of knowledge about what is on our minds and what we're really thinking about. And so those little nagging thoughts you have, really, really pay attention to those. Those fleeting thoughts that come through your mind, or that gut feeling, even if you don't know what it is, really explore that situation and say, what could be going on here? What person is around when you get that feeling? Um, and just make note of it, because there's something either we don't want to deal with or think about, or we don't realize is behind a situation within ourselves, or someone else in the situation is not being forthright. And it could be that they're just in denial as well. It doesn't have to be sinister or outright um, someone trying to lie or deceive you. We all have our, our things we don't want to face or deal with, or don't even realize we're not dealing with. So let's check out the next card. Oh, we have the Fool. The Fool is one of my, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's probably pretty close to my favorite card. Because my interpretation of the Fool, I think, is not necessarily everyone else's interpretation of the Fool. But when you look at the journey through the major arcana cards, often the Fool's the very first card. Sort of you're setting off on your journey, and it talks about lots of pictures. This Fool is about to walk off a cliff and just is oblivious to where they're going, the situation they're putting themselves in. But the way I see it is the Fool is almost always on top of a cliff, up on a mountain. And to me, the journey getting there is the journey through all the major arcana. And the Fool is now reached the top. They are not oblivious. They're not clueless. In fact, I think they've gone through all those steps, and they've gotten to the point where they realized that you just kind of have to, it is a calculated risk. I don't think this person is oblivious at all. But they realize you can try to do and take into account every single one of the major arcana to the point where you can literally drive yourself crazy, trying to be balanced, trying to not deal with temptation, trying to look to your intuition, trying to be creative, trying to, on and on and on. That it can be almost impossible. And really, in the end, it's best to just let all that stuff go and do what makes you happiest. Um, so I love the Fool. I love that energy. I'm a Sagittarius. I love change and new things and going for stuff, even if I don't always do it all the time. I at least like the idea of it. Um, so far, I think we really need to go within ourselves and figure out, what we really, really want, what we're denying ourselves, and go for it. So let's see what the last card is. The Nine of Wands. It's interesting. Yeah, so it's Nine of Bows in this deck, but it's the Nine of Wands. So the key word for in this deck is respect, which I like. It makes it a much not in the Rider-Waite deck. It's more of a card of burden and despair. Like I might put despair on as a keyword, but in here it's respect. And so this guy, it looks like he's defending something, and he's a formidable opponent, perhaps. So maybe that's the interpretation in this deck. But the Nine of Bows talks about, it gets to a point where sort of your creative, whatever you had been working on has almost become a bit of a burden, and sort of the reality of the situation has taken over, and it's kind of become, you created a little bit of a monster in a way. Like if you have your own business, it was so exciting. You've always wanted your own business, and now you have it, and now you have all these employees, and you have to deal with human resources and all this stuff, when really all you wanted to do in the first place is whatever you love doing, whether it's, I can't, pick any business. If it's grown to a place where it's starting to become a burden. So I would really, if you're at a crossroads where you're feeling like, even though I really thought this was what I wanted, it's not fun anymore. It's not doing it for me anymore. There are a couple ways to look at it. The Nine of Wands says you can get through it, and you just have to push through, and you're completely capable of doing it. The next card, the Ten of Wands, talks about delegating. So maybe consider if that's coming up next, that you really need to come to the realization that you need to let go of control a little bit and delegate, which would be really hard. But I really think that this is a warning to really go back, look within yourselves with the seer, and figure out if we've strayed from our path a little bit, and remember what our true passion and joy is, and maybe make an adjustment so that we're back on this path. Maybe we're worrying too much about what other people think. Maybe we started this business and everyone's giving us all this input, which you want, but then you're like, no, wait a minute, this wasn't really my dream, and now I'm sort of going in a different direction. Well, that's okay. You can just make a a change in course. It's not, don't feel like, oh, here I am and I have to stick with what I've created. No, you don't. You actually don't. So really go back and look within and look what's going to make you happy. Get back to this point. Okay? Whether it's stop listening to trying to be perfect and use all your knowledge and the major arcana and make everything perfect and drive yourself crazy. Go back to the Fool, who's just, this is what I want to do, and I've thought about it, and this is what I want to do, no matter what anyone else says. And that's just and I'm happy because I've let go of all that other worry of trying to do what everyone else wants and thinks and is warning me it's going to fail and all this stuff. And maybe I got off that path, and this guy is saying, hey, wait a minute, do you want to come over this way? Because the rainbow's not there anymore. We got to get back. We got to get back to the Fool. Embrace the Fool, love the Fool, the wanderer. And if you need to you know, reassess, that's absolutely fine. Don't feel bad about that, you know. It's no problem. In fact, I would think not reassessing periodically, and even if the change is drastic, maybe it will just be a small change that will make a big difference. Um, really think about what are the few things if I could change about my situation, I think would really lighten the load. Maybe it's something as simple as getting a cleaning lady so you have more time to do what you love, or, um, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything super major, but it could be something really major. Like, I took this job and I just don't like it anymore. I'm not sure where you guys are, but there's something nagging at you, and you really need to listen to that as a good thing, and it's trying to tell you you've strayed from your path a little bit. So somehow try to get in touch with that,